Fiducia, fidelitas, and honestus, which mean confidence, loyalty, and integrity, are the tenets under which the Bahamas Institute of Financial Services was born. These tenets are enshrined in the Institute's coat of arms, which includes several drawings that have symbolic meanings expected to be understood by the Institute's students and graduates. The idea for such an institution was the brainchild of T. Baswell Donaldson.
Well, at the time I was the chairman of the Bahamas Monetary Authority. And what I observed was that we had an industry which was growing, but we had a number of people in the industry who were not properly trained. Now, this was not their fault, because at that time, remember, the opportunities for training were not the same as they are today. So there were a number of people who were thoroughly capable, very able, but were unfortunately not able to go abroad, which you had to do to get the sort of training that they needed to work in a burgeoning industry.
Mr. Donaldson held 3 formal meetings in 1974 and one in 1975 with Robert Kavanagh, Donald Fleming, Norman Ireland, Douglas Mansfield, Clyde Minard, Dr. J.J. Morger, and Dr. A. Vandervalk. These 8 outstanding men became the Institute's first Board of Trustees. The first classes, which were held at the College of the Bahamas, began in 1975 and cemented a long-lasting and mutually beneficial relationship between both organizations.
From the beginning, the Institute of Bankers, and by extension, the financial community in general, became extremely supportive of COB, not only for the banking programs, but in all of our work. And we had very concrete contributions to things like the enhancement and development of our facilities, and assistance in developing our store of teaching learning resources. They would make significant contributions to library development, for example. And in addition, many of the banks offered significant student financial aid. Conversely, the college's faculty assisted in the instructional programs that the Institute itself offered, and of course worked very collaboratively with the administrators always of the Institute.
It was certainly a proud moment for the Board of Trustees and all involved when the first 105 students graduated from the Institute with levels 1 and 2 banking certificates and the diploma of the Associate of Bankers Institute of the Bahamas. From then on, the Institute has continued to educate and significantly impact the career development of many Bahamians, including Jacqueline Roll and Raymond Antonio.
I must say the training that I got at the college and at the Bahamas Institute of Financial Services has provided me with a solid foundation that I have been able to build on. I cannot say how much I truly appreciated that program. In my normal day-to-day, I have to communicate with high net worth clients, lawyers, accountants, bankers, investors, and just being able to converse, to understand the concept, and to have an informed discussion with clients or the professionals. The education I received through the Institute has certainly provided that foundation.
When I completed the Institute's diploma program, I was a supervisor at the time in a data center and had never really worked in commercial banking. So that made my transition to commercial banking a lot easier because I was then familiar with the theoretical side of things, and so getting involved in the practice, I was able to say, yeah, we did that, we talked about this, now I'm getting to see it firsthand. And it really helped, particularly when I got into commercial lending and we started looking at various lending products. It was not something that was really new, but it was just now saying, okay, this is what we talked about, let's see now how it goes in practice. So it has really helped in my progress and in my career in financial services.
Mrs. Roll will soon be one of the first fellows of the Institute, and Mr. Antonio has served on the Institute's Education Committee several times. Graduate and lecturer in trust law and administration, Arthur Chase believes the alumni can do more to further the Institute's development.
I believe that they can give back in the same way by donating their time to the Institute and by assisting the Institute in trying to determine what new products they can offer to the financial community. Because a lot of persons have passed through the Institute and they have gone on to various fields. Some of them have gone into the legal profession, for instance. Some of them have gone up to the top of the banking profession. Some of them have branched over into things like insurance and so on. And so they can assist the Institute by making perhaps recommendations as to what the needs are, so that the Institute itself can broaden its base.
At that time, it was also felt that the Institute could benefit from a merger between another organization, then called the Bankers Association.
Bahamas Bank Association was primarily a professional development arm of education, whereas the Institute dealt more with specific courses, tertiary education aspects. But there was still some degree of overlapping, and further, the Institute had an embedded administration body, which the association did not. So we felt that, I think in '93 and '94, that the community at large can be better served by a merger of both entities. And so the Bankers Association was collapsed into the Institute of Bankers.
By the 1980s, Kenneth Albury had taken over from W. Burnett Gray as registrar. Kim Bodie had joined the Institute as his secretary, and its growth was evident.
At the time, we occupied a two-room office space in the Bolam House on George Street. Our original program, the ABIB, is offered in conjunction with the College of the Bahamas. So that program is well on its way. We had hundreds of students who had graduated from that program, and we had begun to expand, and our members, particularly our offshore members, were interested in the Institute offering more courses in trusts. And so there was a need for us to expand. And we brought in a lecturer, Anne Howard, from the Chartered Institute in London to assist us. And as a result of the expansion of the courses from the diploma program to more trust and trust administration courses, we had to expand our facilities. We also wanted to provide a library and reading room. And so we moved from Bolam House in the early 1990s to the Star Plaza on Mackey Street.
To accommodate its growing student body, the Institute later moved to the Royal Palm Plaza. By 1995, the Institute had collaborated with College of the Bahamas, and a joint committee was formed to develop the first Bachelor of Business Administration in Banking and Finance at the college.
Personally, that was a wonderful experience for me, just being a tiny part in really what was an outstanding group of people on that committee. If you look at the people on that committee, Ivy Dumont, Hugh Sands, Betty Roberts, Yves Poitier, Ian Frizzell, Chris Richmond, there were some great people on that committee, and I think we did a great deal in terms of putting the thing together in the first place, and then everybody really got behind it because it cost some money. Some money had to be put together to fund something like that. College of the Bahamas didn't have the resources, so I think Dr. Keva Bethel at the time said, we'd love to do it, but it has to be resourced from somewhere. So we had to put together something that was sufficiently convincing to the banks that they would come up with the money, frankly. And I think particularly, Ian Frizzell and Hal Jacobson really said, went to the banking community and said, listen, you guys, if we're going to be able to really provide the human resources for the future development of the Bahamian banking sector, we're going to have to get serious about this.
And serious they did get. In December of 1996, several students graduated from the College of the Bahamas with a BBA in Banking and Finance. Today, the Institute calls historic Veranda House its home, thanks to a significant corporate contribution from executives of the Central Bank of the Bahamas.
Having, over a period of time, helped the Institute by providing a financial subsidy for the previous offices of the Institute on Mackey Street, And realizing that the Institute needed to have more space, the idea developed that the central bank might consider providing even more substantial assistance. That is, by putting Veranda House at the disposal of the Institute for a period of time.
Over the last 5 years, the Institute has graciously and aggressively risen to the challenges of remaining relevant and keeping on the pulse of industry needs. In 2001, the Institute found it necessary to change its name to the Bahamas Institute of Financial Services.
The name change was consistent with what's happening in the industry. We went from being called the banking sector to the financial services industry. And what we felt the need was really to allow the focus of the Institute to be broadened, consistent with industry expectations and where it was headed. And so therefore our courses are not only specific to banking, they're specific to really events taking place within the entire industry.
The Bahamas Institute of Financial Services also redefined its mission statement, which is to promote quality education programs for the financial services sector, to be innovative and responsive to the expanding needs of the business and financial community, and to develop creative synergies to foster and enhance sustained growth within the industry.
Part of the plan going forward is to be able to do more workshops and seminars in addition to just a general training. We want to continue those, but we also want to do more lectures or luncheon programs whereby members of the banking and in the financial community can come in to hear what's going on, the new things happening in the environment, the new things that are happening in the industry, the changes in our laws and how those are being applied, or what needs are in the community. And so we may have to direct the lawmakers in those areas to look at providing new enhancements to the financial industry, make sure that we meet the needs.
The Institute offers an array of programs including the Banking Certificate, the Associate of the Bahamas Institute of Financial Services Diploma, Fundamentals of Trust and Law Administration, and an International Diploma in Compliance and Anti-Money Laundering, which is offered in conjunction with the Bahamas Association of Compliance Officers. The Institute also offers professional development courses in investment and financial instruments, Introduction to Mutual Funds, Effective Writing, Introduction to Lending, Promoting Business Ethics in the Workplace, and Advanced Credit Analysis. Speakers from within the community and abroad are invited to lecture on specific topics. Graduates from these programs are honored at an annual presentation of award ceremony and dinner. The Institute also produces the Bahamian Banker Journal and readings in banking and finance. It is clear that the Institute has a bright future ahead, as outlined in its strategic plan.
One of the parts of the strategic plan is seeking a new location that will provide the means for larger capacity. But certainly, that is only one aspect. I think that we will place a great deal of focus on electronic means of learning and introduce online courses and programs. And so between those two areas, we are confident that we can reach the masses of the population of the Bahamas and certainly beyond our shores.
And I would use this opportunity to encourage the banks and the trust companies and the other members of our sector to, to be supportive, because I would say that without the contribution of the Institute of Bankers, now the Institute of Financial Services, over the last 30 years, we would not nearly have made as much progress as we have made. And we have made significant progress in this industry.